Hi friends, and welcome to my channel where we encourage each other to be better and do good. If you like today's video, before you leave, please go down below, give it a thumbs up, click that like button. Comments are always welcome, and of course, subscribe to my channel. Now let's get on to today's topic. Let's go on a witch hunt. Now I know it is August, but I also know that some of you believe that Halloween is a season, not just an evening. But that's okay. And I know that some of you think that we're already getting into the Halloween season, and therefore when I say, let's go on a witch hunt, you might be thinking this is a Halloween video. So let me just be honest right up front with you. No, this is not a Halloween video. But I do think it is a good lesson for us, so please stay with me, and I will put a couple of links at the end of this video to some Halloween videos. So stay with me through this one, and let's do Halloween afterward. So what is Let's Go on a Witch Hunt all about? Well, let me tell you. My son Travis worked this summer as a camp counselor at a drama camp. He's done that for several summers for his summer job. And he was telling me the other day about a game that they played, which I found very, very interesting. In fact, that's why he shared it with me, and I want to share it with you. And it was called Let's Go on a Witch Hunt. And now you have to remember, now they're elementary school age children. I may not have the ages and the numbers exactly right, but it's close enough for the example. And the first and second grade kids, about 15 of them he had, and this week of camp, and they played this game called Let's Go on a Witch Hunt. And here's the instructions basically that he gave them. He put them in a circle, sat them in a circle on the floor, told them to close their eyes. He said, I'm going to walk around, and if I tap you on the head, then you will be a witch. Those who are not tapped on the head will be a common villager. So then after we do that, your second thing is you will go around and you will ask each other questions. And if you get a suspicious answer and that doesn't sound right to you, then you can decide if that person is one of the witches. And you let me know, and we will put the people who are proclaimed as being witches over in the corner. And at the end, when everyone is satisfied, we will ask the whole group, are these the people you believe to be the witches? And when that part is done, we will see who is right and who is wrong about the witches. Well, sounds pretty simple and sounds pretty fun. And in fact, they thoroughly enjoyed the game. And here's how it kind of went. They did exactly right. He put them in a circle, closed their eyes, he walked around, and if they were going to be a witch, they were tapped on the head, and then after that, they got up and they asked each other questions. And if it was suspicious to them, then they said, I think that's a witch, I think that's a witch. So we put the witches over in the corner, and at the end, we said, here's the group of villagers, and it was really, if I understand right, it was about half and half. About half the kids were put over here in the corner as supposedly being the witches, and the other half was the villagers. And I asked the villagers, do you believe, because all of these have been selected as the witches, that they really are the witches? And they all agreed, yes, those are the witches. Well, I'm sure they weren't quite that mean about it because they were having fun playing this game, but well, that was still the intent, wasn't it? And here's what happened. Travis said, okay, so all of you over in the corner that really were tapped on the head, that really are the witches, you keep standing, and everybody who is not tapped on the head, who is not a witch, sit down. How many of them do you think sat down? How many of them do you think remained standing that really were the witches? Well, here's the kicker to the whole lesson of the whole game, of the whole story. They all sat down. None of them were left standing. There was no one that had actually been tapped on the head. None of them had been selected as witches. And yet those children playing that game gave us a very important lesson, didn't they? Because so often, don't we do the same thing? You know, they had heard what they thought was the opinion of others, but they didn't hear it exactly right. They had some misinformation. The game was, If I tap you on the head, you will be a witch. So the assumption being a number of them had actually been tapped on the head, when that wasn't really true. That just didn't happen. So, it was a bit of a trick, but at the same time, we also receive misinformation. We don't always hear things the way they are said, do we? We don't always get the information correct. We don't always hear it just right. And then secondly, based on that misinformation, these kids begin to form their own opinions about others, strictly on the answers they got. They interpreted that as being, ooh, that sounds suspicious. They must be one of those witches I was hearing about. And we do the same thing, don't we? We take people and we see something about them that we're not, what's the word? We're not familiar with. We don't know if we trust it. We hear them say something, we hear something about them, we see their appearance, we see the way they dress, we see some of the things that they do, and we, just like those kids in that drama camp, in that game, we form an opinion, don't we? And we say, ooh, they must be one of them. Whoever that is, whatever group we've gotten information about or misinformation about, then we say, ooh, they must be one of them. And then the third thing they did is they went with the crowd's opinion, didn't they? They said, all right, now here's the group that are the villagers. How many of you agree that those over there in the corner are indeed the witches? And they all agreed because, number one, they had all heard the misinformation. They had all said, well, if you think they're a witch and I think that one's a witch and you must think this was a witch, well, we all must be right because we're the villagers. We have already determined they're the witches. And so we all collect together and we say collectively, yes, indeed, those are the witches. And we do the same thing in life, don't we? As adults, we do the same thing. We act on our misinformation. We form our own opinions based on that misinformation, not based on the real person or the individual. And then we tend to go along with those who think the way that we think. If they think like us, they must be right. And if all of those who think like us are afraid of or, against those or believe that those others are in that other group, we must be right. The tragedy is, often we're not. Just like those kids, they weren't right. None of those others were actually witches. None of them were actually in that group. But because of misinformation, because of poor judgment, and because of going along with a group, they had, in their mind, put them into a group that was being isolated, being put away, being shunned, if you will, because supposedly they were different. Well, what I want to do today is just bring that to our attention and let you know about that game. And next time you meet somebody, I would like to encourage all of us, you and me, encourage us, hey, let's just take a minute and get to know a person. Let's know them as an individual. Let's find out their cares, their concerns, their likes, their dislikes, their beliefs. Because, just because we operate sometimes on misinformation and we knee-jerk reaction on our opinions and we want to go along with all of those who we think like we do and believe like we do, we're just not always right, are we? I want to encourage us, let's take the time to get to know each other, learn about each other. Yes, there may be some weirdos, some witches, some others among us. I don't know, but I do know this. There's not as many as you might think. And if we take the time to get to know them as a person, as an individual, as a fellow member of the world, as a fellow member of our society, as a fellow member of the human race, we will find out there is not as much difference as we might think. Let's get to know each other as people, as individuals, and then as friends. like today's video, please go down, give it a thumbs up, click that like button for me, leave some comments, and of course, subscribe to my channel. And right here, as promised, I'm going to give you a couple of links to some actual Halloween videos. One about building our Halloween village and one about our yard display from 2020. So enjoy those. We'll have some more coming out in the future. And of course, catch our videos on Be Better and Do Good. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.